Hi everyone, welcome to this in-depth tutorial on painting in Canvas. Today I'm going to show you a number of tips and tricks of painting in Canvas, and to do that I'm going to demonstrate the painting of two models. First, this penguin from Madagascar by Robert Rowland, and the Great Wall of China from MiniWorld. We'll get started with the penguin first. So I'll head over to Canvas, create a new project. I already have a printer profile created and a palette associated with that printer. And I'll drag and drop in the model. The first thing that you'll want to do is set up the colors that you'll want in this print. So the penguin will be white, black, and have an orange beak. Selecting the model, I'm going to choose Paint Selected. One thing to note is that models should be watertight and properly repaired before bringing it into Canvas Paint. Canvas will produce the best results when there are no intersecting shells or other mesh problems. So to get started with this model, I'm going to first try Create Regions. Create Regions is a helpful tool for all sorts of different models that allows us to create boundaries between areas that are different than others. So in this case, I'm specifically looking to segment out the feet and maybe some of the beak and the eyes. So I'm going to start with the defaults here and see how that works. So the feet work pretty well. You can see a purple line up in the crease here. However, the beak only worked okay. This is something that we can probably work with though, so let's try. So I'm going to grab the fill bucket and orange and fill the regions. You'll want to try and be pretty precise and make sure that you don't miss a lot of triangles, because Canvas will actually go and create color where you paint. That actually worked pretty well. I'm going to go down and do the same thing for the feet. You'll see that there's a couple of different regions around here that are maybe a little too small, but I can clean that up afterwards with the sphere tool. I'm going to now turn off Show Boundaries. This allows me to use the fill bucket across those purple boundaries. Similarly, I'm going to keep Show Boundaries off and just touch up the rest using the sphere brush. For the last little bit of detail here, I'm going to switch to the triangle tool. This allows me to get really close in and really precise with my painting. Nice. So the orange for the beak and the feet are done, but I want to start working on the black. So given that there's no good boundaries for me to draw along, I'm going to have to do this freehand. But that's okay, we can always go in and clean it up afterwards. So I'm going to start with a rough pass along the penguin. I don't have to be super precise in this case. You'll notice I'm not actually filling in the back of the penguin either. I'm going to use the fill tool to fill in that later. As I get down to the feet, I can actually turn on the boundaries from Create Regions again, and this will give me a hard line that I can paint up to. As you can see, the black isn't going over into the feet. Now that I'm pretty happy with that, I'm going to use the fill bucket to fill the back side all black. I'm going to add some detail to the eyes using the sphere brush. And while you can use the slider, to make the brush bigger or smaller, you can also use the square bracket keys on your keyboard to make the brush bigger or smaller. When I find a size that's good for the pupils, I'm just going to click down, and same on the other eye. So this is getting pretty close, but I'm just going to go in and smooth out these edges a little bit. Now that I'm happy with my model, I'll click Save and Return, and I'm able to slice. Now you can see the output of our efforts. Canvas is actually dividing up the model so that there's different regions of color, and the black and white are not just boundaries on the outside of the part, but they're actually going into the model as well. This makes the part stronger and print better. We printed these models earlier and painted the other 3 penguins as well, and here you can see the result. Now I'm going to switch to a slightly more geometric model, the Great Wall of China. As you can see, there's this sort of green grassy bit, and then the actual gray for the wall, and then we could even do this little house in red at the top. So let's try that. I'm going to go back to the Canvas tab, create a new project, and upload the Great Wall of China model. You'll notice that this one came in on an angle. That's okay, we can just rotate it downwards. By holding Control, we can drop the model down. I'm also going to scale it up a little bit. Dragging the gray boxes allows the model to be scaled in all directions. Now with the model selected, I'll choose Paint Selected. Now in the painting view, I'll set up my paint palette. So we wanted gray, green, and red. If I accidentally start painting and I'm not happy with how it's looking, I can actually fill over all the colors by holding Shift while using the fill bucket. Because this is a geometric model, I think I can use Create Regions pretty effectively. Face Angle Threshold looks at neighboring triangles and sees what angle they are to each other. If they're greater than this number, a boundary will be formed. The next option is Region Angle Threshold, and that means that every triangle that's grouped into a region must have angles within this threshold. And finally, Minimum Region Size is the minimum number of triangles that will make up a region. For models like this, that have more geometric edges, higher values are normally better. For models like the penguin, these default values work pretty well. If you want more boundaries and more regions, lower numbers are better. If you want less regions, higher angles are better. For this model, we'll start with face angle threshold of 45 and a region angle threshold of 90 degrees. Minimum region size of 5 is fine. So you see that we got some detail here. The roof actually came out pretty easily, so we're going to color that. But the rest of the model is all one region. So we'll undo that. So we'll try again with different angles. This doesn't affect anything that you've already painted, but it will allow you to create new regions to try and find different values that work better for other parts of your model. Since I want more regions to be created, I'm going to drop the angles Now you can already see that there are a number of regions created, and the ground is being separated from the wall a little bit better. So let's try this. So those values were good but not great. So we're going to try again lower. And once again I went lower, and now I'm getting good results. Since this is a pretty low poly model, I'm going to switch over to the triangle tool to get more precise. I'll come back to this region that is currently green and turn it gray with the fill bucket, but first I'm going to use the triangle tool to create a boundary around it. Since I have create regions turned on, I'm going to turn that off so that it will just respect anywhere that's green. And there you go. Switching back to the triangle tool, I'll go through and clean up the rest of the model. If you're zoomed in really close to the model, and you want to orbit the camera without painting, you can hold Alt or Option and left click. Since Canvas will actually paint the bottom sides of your object the color that they're supposed to be, it's important to look at those areas as well. In this case, we don't actually want the bottom side of this roof to be gray, we want it to be red. So we're going to paint that red. It's also a good idea to look at the bottom side of your part and make sure that there's no triangles that you missed. In this case, it's all one color of green, but it's easy to forget. And as a final step, we'll switch to the Fix tool and click Fix Automatically. This is a good check to make sure that we didn't miss any faces, or there's no faces that are too small to print. In this case, we're good to go. So we'll hit back and click Save and Return. Now we can slice the model and look at the G-code. Now that the slice is done, we can see the finished output. Dragging the slider on the right will hide parts of the model so that you can see more detail as you go down. For this detail, you can see that Canvas again is creating lines into the part. This makes sure that this detail still has high print quality. If you want to get started painting in Canvas today with your palette, head on over to canvas3d.io. If you run into any problems or have any questions, feel free to post in the comment section below. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and we're looking forward to seeing what you'll create. Share it with us at Mosaic MFG via Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.